good thing that we have going, and then you just don't want me to see you ever.
Well, the crazy thing is I can see you. So
I know.
it's
And
no impact to me.
And here's the thing, Gavin. That just means that life is not fair.
Life's never fair, baby.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely life isn't fair. Anyways, hey, we're live.
We are live. I moved us on to the live stream.
All right. So what you're telling me is that people can not only see us, but they can hear us.
They can see us, and gonna capitalize the "and." They can hear us.
Wow.
On this lovely Monday
capitalize night. A W and then an O and then a W. Wow.
Oh, I was like, where are you going with this? Yeah.
You can even do like the Owen Wilson. Wow.
Who's Owen Wilson?
What do you mean? Who? Get out of here. Get out of here. There's no way.
Who's Owen Wilson?
All right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the MLS Now podcast. I'm your host, Russell. You can find me on social media at Mr. Danger Russ. And remember, you can find the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast. But here's the thing. Okay. Not only can you find me on social media, you can find the podcast on social media. You can also find many celebrities. You can find actors like Owen Wilson on there. You know who else you can find on social media? You can find someone who doesn't know any celebrities ever on social media at Lions Blog 1. It's Gavin. Gavin, how do you not do you know who Will Ferrell is?
Yes, I do.
Do you know Sylvester Stallone?
Yep.
Do you know I'm blown away by your celebrity knowledge gap.
Owen Wilson. Okay, yeah. I've seen him. I've seen him in movies before. He's a funny guy.
I bet you have.
He's a funny guy. Okay, I know.
Apparently not funny enough for you to remember his name.
I knew the face. I don't know actors' names like that. I know their faces.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, I like that guy. Don't know his name, but I like him. That's how I roll.
If you say so.
Hey,
if you say so, I will believe you.
Hey. We are...
Hey is for horses.
Week 32, whatever week we're in. Our podcast says it's week 32, but I feel like it's different each time.
Oh my gosh, Gavin, that was the loudest phone buzzing.
I can't control my phone. I can't control my phone.
I
can't control
the
it.
Insane thing is you literally can control it.
I can't control when it buzzes. And I need it to buzz.
You can control it.
I need it to buzz so I can ignore your phone calls.
Right. Okay. See, here's the thing. You may as well just set your phone to do not disturb mode then, because then you could save us both the time that instead of me sitting there listening to, it ring for 40 seconds before going to, the number you have dialed is not available. Please leave a message, which I have heard a million times. You could just save us both the time and just put it on do not disturb. And then I would go right to voicemail so that I can proceed to text you. Why do you hate me?
Yes. Yeah. Look. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't feel like setting up the do not disturb clock. Anyways,
you have an iPhone, Gavin? I just want to note here. You do have an iPhone, and there is literally a button on iPhone right here. If you pull down the screen.
Oh, really?
And,
I didn't know there was one right there.
And you can press it, and it sends you to do not disturb mode.
That says focus. How was I supposed to know that means do not disturb?
Oh my gosh. Do you not try anything new in life?
I don't really do much on my phone. I don't mess around with my phone.
I can tell because you never answer my phone calls.
Anyways, I was going to say before you rudely interrupted me, I want to say thank you because I feel like I don't say thank you enough to all of our listeners. I want to say thank you to all of our correspondents, our lovely correspondents. I wanted to say thank you to you, Russell. Oh my gosh. I feel
Gavin.
like I don't know what's going on. You texted me. You did
Yeah,
that
that
on purpose.
I actually sent you a picture as a reminder.
For what? Oh. Anyways, we'll go over that in a minute. Anyways, thank you to all of our listeners, all our correspondents. Thank you to you, Russell. We really, really appreciate all of the support, all of the listening ship over the years. So just wanted to throw that out into the ether, and before you rudely interrupted me with stories of who knows what.
Right. No, it's very fair.
Texting
Fair.
me, making fun of me, telling me I don't
Mhm.
answer your phone calls, all that fun
You
stuff.
don't. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't. So, just wanted to say that. I think now we can probably get into the episode, unless you have anything you wanna get off your chest.
No, I think I'm good. I think I'm all right.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Well, holy moly. I mean, I would say where to even begin, but Gavin, here's the thing. I know right where to begin, and we got to begin with some breaking news. And just like that, the news is ready to discuss here. Gavin, there are 2 teams eliminated from the playoffs. This is a really cool thing. I love this because we don't get to see this very often. San Jose, yes, whatever. Eliminated. We already knew this. Been over it.
They were
Yada yada.
eliminated like
Yeah,
17 weeks ago.
They were eliminated at the start of the season.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. SKC is now eliminated as well, but SKC actually sit above St. Louis in the standings. And yet St. Louis are not eliminated despite sitting below SKC because they have a game in hand and they're hoping that every team above them doesn't pick up any points at all, because Minnesota picking up even 1 point would fully eliminate them, but irrelevant because it's just very funny to see.
Yeah, that is quite a funny scenario there. I will say though, St. Louis have really disappointed me come the end of this season. Like we talked a few weeks ago about how they have a winnable, outable schedule. Like they looked like they could do something, and they've just these last 3 matches haven't really done it. They haven't really done what we expected them to do, and now they're most likely not going to make the playoffs. So a little bit disappointing there from St. Louis side of things.
It is disappointing. The entire time that you were saying that, it's like we were talking about how St. Louis were gonna, they had a winnable window, and I'm just thinking of like the referees where it's like there was, a player offsides. However, however, we need a sound clip of that, because it's if that could be like, if someone who is much more free than you and I could make a sound clip and or also a GIF of it, that's gonna get blasted everywhere on social media. Okay. Love it. But anyways, yeah, I wanted to start with a little bit of the table, the standings, and all that. Just get a sense of where we even are.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, there's a lot going on right in the East. You have Philadelphia, who they won, and we'll talk about that later. But Philadelphia won over the weekend. They're on Sunday, and then you look at them, and they're sitting in 9th on 36 points. And you have Montreal, Atlanta, Nashville, and DC United all within 1 win of that 9th spot. 9th to 13th could very well go down to decision day, which is amazing.
I would be really surprised if 8th and 9th, really 7th, 8th, and 9th aren't up for grabs come decision day. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of teams vying for position in come decision day. I mean, there's a 5-point gap currently between 7th and 8th. That can change real quick. Just one loss for NYCFC. And even Charlotte, they're in 6th, and they are on the same amount of points as NYCFC with 41. And Charlotte are so hot and cold. So it's like, I feel like anywhere between 6th and 13th, who knows where teams are going to finish. I think we have a decent understanding of, okay, these teams are probably going to be in the playoffs. these teams are going to be fighting for the playoffs, and it's going to take a lot for these teams to get into the playoffs between 6th and 13th. But it's like anything could happen. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. It's going to be thrilling down to the very last moment of it. And then you get to the West, and like the West is slowly cutting off. Like no teams in the East are eliminated, for the record. Even New England, sitting in 15th, dead last in the East, are on 28 points, still alive.
Which is, yeah, it's insane. I think going into the year, we all thought the East was going to be crazy like this. And so to see it come out to fruition is always fun.
Yeah. Whereas, again, so we hinted about it a little bit just now, but to close that loop, so looking back over at the West, you have Minnesota, and Minnesota sits on 9th, and Portland sits on 8th. And you've got 42 points for Minnesota, 44 points for Portland. And there's actually a bit of a gap between Minnesota in 9th on 42 points. And then you have Dallas is the next closest team, and they're still 5 points behind. They're sitting on 37. So, I mean, I would struggle to believe that either Austin or St. Louis, who sit below Dallas, would leapfrog both Dallas and Minnesota to get to 9th. I think at this point, it is Dallas are the only ones who have a real shot to get in, and that requires them to essentially win out and Minnesota to drop the ball.
Yes. Yeah, essentially. Which could happen. It's a very realistic scenario.
Entirely possible.
But it feels a lot less crazy. Right now, obviously, like we said, things could change. But right now it feels a little less hectic.
It feels like a normal end to a season in a way, right? Where the season is winding down to a close and teams are getting steadily eliminated as you get closer and closer. And then just in the East, it's just like every single one of those teams is like, no.
It's a much more even distribution on the Western front.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the West, you have clubs that are clearly head and shoulders above many other teams in, LAFC, LA Galaxy, Real Salt Lake in Colorado to an extent. And then you have that next tier of teams, and like it's segregated out pretty well, right? Oh my gosh, Gavin, you've got a dog sneezing in the background now.
I know, I don't know what's going on.
Oh my gosh, first you've got dogs sneezing, and before that you've got phones going off. Like, I can't wait to hear what you're gonna have next in the background.
It's pretty regular occurrence to just have some crazy thing happen in my background these days.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
I don't know. Maybe I'll like spill my beer or something.
I mean, I don't put it past you.
I wouldn't put it past me either. Oh, and there she is. You can't see her because you can't see me, but on the live stream you can see her.
Well, that's a real shame because I wish I could see a dog, but I can't. I've got to settle for looking at my cat, who's giving me the shadiest looks in the world right now. But anyways, going back to just the standings before we wrap up this talking point, and then we'll keep on moving to talk about actual soccer, right? Yep. Like the East almost has just two layers where you have Miami, Cincinnati, Columbus sitting at the top of the East, and then you have everyone else. And it really feels like everyone else.
Yeah. It's the perfect way to describe what's happening right now. Those top three teams, they're in a class of their own, and then it really is just everyone else. And honestly, it looks like everyone else is pretty evenly matched, and it's just been a whole lot of maybe this team's had more injuries than the other team. Maybe this team had a few more bounces go their way. Maybe they went against teams at good times. It just feels like the small little things that happen in a season just feels like some things have gone more for some teams than other teams right now. Looking at the table, because they're all just so evenly meh. And I think the East is going to be really... It's not going to be hard to predict those first few rounds of the playoffs. I think we're going to see the top teams go through And it'd be an upset would be like a really, really surprising upset when it comes to like Columbus, Cincinnati, and Inter Miami.
Yeah, which I think that's a great segue to talk about this next item here, which was just at a high level view of the weekend, Gavin. Things that were not on my bingo card, right? So, matches that surprised me over the weekend: Dallas winning over LAFC, Houston winning over Austin. Okay. And then New York City FC and Miami splitting points. I think most people would have picked Miami.
Yep.
And then Cincinnati and Nashville, again, splitting points.
Yep.
And I think most people would have likely picked Cincinnati in this matchup.
Yep. Where do you want to start with that?
Well, I think maybe just my question then is, one, do you agree? Are those do those matches surprise you? Was there anything else that I've left off that you want to throw in as an honorable mention there?
I guess I kind of want to disagree to start off.
Oh, well, let me hear it.
Okay. FC Dallas beating LAFC. How much of a surprise really is that?
It's a surprise, yeah.
LAFC haven't won in MLS since the League's Cup final. They're not in good form right now. In fact, their only win since the League's Cup final was in Open Cup against Seattle. But in MLS, they are, I think it's 4 games now without a win. As my dog goes crazy again.
Yeah, I mean, must be the pollen in the air or something down there.
5. They're now 5 games without a win in MLS. So, no, this one did not surprise me at all. They are in poor form, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it later. But Open Cup Finals on Wednesday. This is a bad time to be in this form for LAFC.
Is it, though? They've already qualified for CONCACAF Champions Cup. Like,
they've got a trophy on the line on Wednesday.
But come on, they're 1 for 5 on trophies.
They have a real chance. I mean, they are the favorites in this final.
They should have been the favorites over Dallas by that same logic.
Should have been, but right now they're in bad form, and now I don't even know if they're the favorites. They should be, but I don't know if they are.
But I agree with you. They should have been the favorites over Dallas, and that's why this match was a surprise to me.
Well, 4 winless into 5 winless, I'm not surprised at all.
Well, we'll see on Wednesday, I guess, which is coming up quite quick.
Yes.
Because seemingly this month of September has flown by.
I know, it's insane. It's insane. Arsenal Seattle fan in the chat, on your point about NYCFC, he doesn't say anything about the game. He says, for the first time in my life, Yankee Stadium finally filled in MLS play.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than maybe like
correct.
The home opener.
Yeah, very, very, very good shout out. And that stood out to me as well, just watching that in real time. That stadium was so loud on the broadcast. Don't go back and rewatch it and tell me when the stadium was loud. I know when it was. We all know when the stadium was loud and who they were getting loud for. But
I liked their banner.
Yeah. Oh, great banner.
I like their banner. Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, go. I don't even know if you can.
Just look on Twitter. Yeah. I'm sure MLS maybe even posted about.
No, there's no way MLS
posted about that.
An anti-Messi banner, not a chance.
Let me go look.
No can do. Yeah.
Basically, they called all Miami fans plastic, and I think it was like Miami fan dolls.
It was Barbie dolls.
Barbie dolls, and they were.
And then it said Messi sold separately.
It said Messi sold separately, and then 100% plastic. It was it was a good banner. Go find it.
Phenomenal banner.
I doubt MLS account posted it, but I'm gonna go look anyways. No way.
Some would even call it a banter.
Yeah. What other games did you mention?
I also mentioned Houston over Austin. and I mentioned Cincy and Nashville.
Houston over Austin?
It's surprising because
Why?
if you follow Houston at all, and if you ever were in the group chat, right, you would
Never.
know that you would know that Houston, I believe, has never won away at Austin.
Oh, really? That's an interesting stat. I didn't know that.
It's a very interesting stat. Houston also, I swear, they just cannot for the life of them figure out the Texas matches.
No. Feels like, yeah, it feels like they really struggle with them. We'd probably have to go look at the stats, but I think you're right there.
Hmm. So, anyways, I would have picked Austin to win over that. Now, maybe the Josh Wolf, drama where Josh Wolf is sitting there in the match, not Josh Wolf, Sebastian Driussi, could be Josh Wolf drama, right? I mean, the fans want Josh Wolf gone as well. It seems like Sebastian Driussi might want himself and Josh Wolf gone because Sebastian Driussi was suspended in not this most recent match, but I think the match prior to that, and was sitting there like liking and reposting negative comments that people were posted, and one person was like, trade Seba, and then fire Wolf, and then it was like Driussi retweets it.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah,
Not a great look for
not a great look
the
for a player
team.
who is suspended from a match to be doing that during the match.
And also like that thing right there, that will not help his value. I mean, like, on both the side of the club who may be trying to sell him or trade him or whatever,
Who do they even send him
and,
to? Like,
well, it might be outside of MLS.
it's gotta be like, who's taking Driussi on a DP deal? Like, I'm sure there are some teams, right? Like Montreal seems like a prime place to be like, well, we suck at signing DPs,
We'll take your
and
washed DP.
yeah, we'll take this DP that doesn't want to be there anymore, and we'll just
Yeah.
that's fine. We don't want to do the legwork to sign someone.
So within the league, I think it hurts his trade value because what team is going to want him? This guy who hasn't performed well in 1.5 seasons at this point. He has consistently not been a huge piece for them. A goal scoring threat, an assist threat. Like, he's totally lost all that, all his flow there. And then if you're trying to trade him within the league, now you have this player who, if he's not happy, he's going to publicly air out his grievances. So how many clubs even want to go for a character like that? So things of that nature don't help the value. Now, if they sell him outside of MLS, that's probably less of an impact on his value. But how much are they going to get for him?
Yeah,
Couple
and
million?
who's gonna pay his wages too? Because
Yeah,
isn't Driussi on like 6 or 7 million a year?
something like that. And
He's
I don't know what his
very highly
contract is like. I'd have to look that up. But
Yeah, that
in
maybe
terms
that's
of
the
when
saving
it
grace,
ends,
right?
like when does it end? I'll have to look up their contracts. I'll do that real quick.
Yeah. Well, it's all good. While you're looking that up, I think I'll just move us to that last match again, not on my bingo card. Cincinnati splitting the points with Nashville. Sam Surridge sitting on a brace for Nashville, which, I mean, we've made fun of Sam Surridge quite a number of times on this podcast. We've said frequently that he's not done well for Nashville. So having multiple braces, and I think even did Surge get a hat trick earlier this year too? Like, I mean, he's been better as of late. Post Gary, Surge has certainly looked more alive. I think Nashville as a team has to unlearn Gary Ball over the offseason to fully look like a proper team. But I mean, there's been sparks there. There's been signs of life. So brace for Surge, really good. I mean, Cincinnati woeful defending. Just it continues to be an issue with them, and I don't think they have much of a. They don't seem to have much of a effective unit when it's Miles Robinson in the center. Because if you look at the second half, Awazium gets put into the center, no goals conceded. previously, again, Awazim in the center, much more solid defensive line. So I don't know if maybe there's just more communication there, if it's that maybe Robinson just has like better vibes with the players on the outside wings. I don't know. But something is going wrong when they roll out that lineup that puts Robinson in the center, and they need to stop because like clearly it's not working.
Yeah.
But
Just
they're
quick,
scoring. So
yeah, just quickly. They've got one more year left on his contract for Driussi,
okay.
and it's end of December 2025. So they have him at least for one more year. As it pertains to the Nashville Cincinnati match, I think they need some players. I think they need some impact players who can create, who can get on the ball, be technical, and pass. I feel like they are missing a passer. They have Mukhtar, who's a transition monster, who's a goal scorer in that aspect. He's a forward. And yes, he's going to get assists. But I feel like they're missing 1 to 2 guys who are going to get the ball to the forwards to go score. And so I think when it's like, yes, they have to unlearn Gary Ball, but they also have to get players who know how to create as well. And I think that's where they're lacking. And that's why I was so surprised at this scoreline, because you guys are better. You guys being Cincinnati. Cincinnati are better than allowing 2 goals against this Nashville team.
Like, are they? Apparently not.
That was a shock to me.
Yeah. It is, but it shouldn't be based on Cincinnati's inconsistency this season on defense. And they're being saved by their offense just putting in some monstrous performances, especially Orishano, who,
yes,
like, has there ever been a better loan signing? Because, like, that's the thing. Just keep in mind, Orishano's still with Cincinnati on loan. He's not even been finalized as, like, a purchase yet.
And he's like a locked-in starter for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, he would be a locked-in starter on probably every team in the league.
Probably, yeah. He's been amazing. And Awaziem, you called him out. He's been really good for you guys as well. And so, I mean, why wasn't he starting in this match? Was it just rotation? Does he have a knock? Like,
Awaziem? I'm pretty sure Awaziem did start because he was at the left center back position.
Oh, I thought you said he started, or he.
No.
Okay.
He needs to be starting in the center, and they moved him into the center of the back three in the second half.
Gotcha.
Because he and Surridge were going at it all night through the first half.
Gotcha.
And both of them were on yellow cards. So.
Arsenal Seattle fan in the chat said that Awaziem has excellent composure from the back in terms of his passing.
Yeah, there's been some very good signs there, and there were some shakier signs at the start. So I need to see as he settles in more. I mean, certainly he's looked considerably better in these past few matches than when he started with Cincinnati. So I don't know if that's just getting acclimated to the system, if the coaching cadre is just, working miracles, because to their credit, right? Like, the coaching team for Cincinnati has been making defensive players look way better than they are normally. Like, Nick Hagglund looks like a stud under this coaching team. Like, who would have seen that coming, right? Ian Murphy got a contract extension, is at this point a starter with the injuries that Cincinnati has, and will probably be part of the team long term. And again, how many people when Murphy was taken would have said, oh yeah, that seems like someone who's going to be, getting another contract and, core part of a team that's making a playoff run?
Nope. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Matt Miazga, who was good. Yes. Like, Matt Miazga came in and, like, we all knew that, that's going to be a good defensive signing. That's who Cincinnati need. They need a vocal leader. They need someone who is a statement center back. Okay. But he's been much better than I think anyone could have expected him to be.
Well, yeah, wasn't he
He was defender of the
defender
year
of the year?
last year.
Yeah, he was defender of the
Yeah.
year. Yeah. So
And that
clearly a
defender of
good.
the year, yeah. Like, and you can see Cincinnati how desperately they miss him with him being injured for vast stretches of the season, and yet they're getting other players to step up and look that good. So
Yep.
yeah, the coaching staff has done some really good work with center backs and making them play above the perceived level that player is in the league.
Yep.
But
Agreed.
anyways, enough of Cincinnati Nashville because it's not a featured match for us. Which I think, is there anything else you want to talk about before I bring up some of these headline games?
I guess we had a couple correspondent corners based
Yeah.
on the matches we hit on. So I'll just say NYCFC from Coach Joe says Messi gets credited with an assist, but this is soccer, not hockey. Messi puts in probably his worst performance in a Miami shirt. Boys in blue steal a point at the death with a first ever goal by homegrown James Sands, with a header off of the corner kick. Cushing's seat raises a few degrees with another game winless in the league. He's never getting fired. It's just not happening.
No.
He's
He
gonna have to
has
quit.
dirt on someone. Yeah.
So that's a NYCFC. I agree. This is soccer, not hockey. Secondary assists are bullshit. And then the other game we hit on was FC Dallas versus LAFC. FC Dallas, we back, baby. Seriously though, if FC Dallas has had a rough season, FC Dallas has had a rough season, but seeing Velasco, Ferreira, and Musa together should provide some entertainment for the last few games. Farrington was a great selection in the draft this year, and it's been exciting to see him develop. All Dallas fans can do right now is enjoy these last few games and just wait to see what's next.
Yeah. It's a good shout. And again, we talked about it earlier. They're probably the only team left in the West at this point that I could see making their way into the playoffs. And it's going to have to come at the expense of either Minnesota or Portland.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think they top the believability index TM for a second week in a row on the West.
Agree. I mean, they've got 12 points possible, so they could climb as high as 49 points. But I mean,
no.
Look, 49 points would be enough to get into the playoffs even before the expansion.
Yes. That's you're locked into the playoffs at this point.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I gotta see. What's Dallas's schedule even look like? I mean, how much belief do we have in Dallas?
Not 4 out of 4. Not 4 out of 4.
Well, what about 3 out of 4? Do we think they can do 3 out of 4? Because I mean, they beat LAFC, and I think probably we wouldn't have put them for beating LAFC.
All right, let's look at their schedule.
That's what I'm trying to do, but
okay. Home to Orlando City.
Slow.
Home to Orlando City. Away to San Jose. Away to Portland. Home to SKC. There's no way they're getting 4 out of 4 in that run.
That to me is a minimum 2 out of 4.
Yes.
And Portland are super, super inconsistent. Portland will either Portland you or they'll Portland themselves.
Yeah. Yes. I think 2 out of 4, I think that makes the most sense.
And I think home to Orlando is a toss-up right now.
Yeah. Arsenal Seattle fan agrees. 2 out of 4 wins.
Yeah. I think 2 out of 4 is safe. I could see 3 out of 4. I agree with you that 4 out of 4 is probably asking too much.
Yep.
Does 3 out of 4 get them in, though? I mean, that's 9 points. That puts them on 45.
Oh, 45? That would be a hell of a season to not at least get 9th.
The insane thing is Portland and Minnesota with 1 win puts them on 47. Minnesota with 1 win would put them on 45, and then Dallas would have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
dang,
I know.
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like 45 would get you in the past.
Mm-hmm.
45 in the West gets you into the 8th and 9th place. Gets you into 8th place, sorry. 45 gets you into 8th place last season in the East as well. On the West, 45 got you into ninth place. In the East, it got you into ninth place. And then in 2021, 45 got you into ninth place in the West. And, 11th place in the East. You have to go all the way back to 2021 to see someone with 45 points not make the top 9. So, interesting.
Very interesting. I think I'm going to hold firm. I think if Dallas wants to make the playoffs, I think they have to go 4 for 4.
I agree based on who they are against in their points totals. Yep. They have to go for 4 for 4. Well, so Orlando could ruin it on, Saturday? There's no midweek games, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They can play spoiler.
Yikes. Jinkies.
Fun. All right. Let's talk about some of I've picked out 3 matches to be featured headline matches for us to talk more about, as though we aren't talking tons about some other matches already. So it's going to feel like it's just a continuation of us talking
literally
a whole lot. But
every match is a headline match to us.
Yeah, every match is a headline match to us because we are absolute soccer sickos. But Gavin, I'm going to call this easy mode this week. If you don't get all 3 of these, I will be stunned, disappointed even. Featured game number 1, Fearsome Foursome.
Galaxy Vancouver.
Oh man, yeah, that's a great guess. That is the one that I had.
Foursome. That's
Fearsome
a good one.
Foursome. Yeah.
Fantastic Four, you might say.
Yeah, I really thought about changing it just for the
title,
but no, I stuck with Fearsome Foursome. That's what I put originally when I was writing this. We have paying the tax.
Paying the tax? What the heck does that mean?
You know this.
Does that have to do with the union? Union tax? Accountant? Who's an accountant?
Dang, if only there was... Well, that's because Kyle Smith, former Orlando City player, was an accountant.
He is current Orlando City player, thank you very much.
Really? I thought he left. Anyways, I'm pretty sure he has an accounting degree.
He does, yes. His nickname is the accountant.
Right.
I don't know. Well, let me look at some of the matches.
The
tax?
The insane thing is, like, you're gonna hear this game if you don't somehow get it, and then you're gonna be like, duh.
No, I'm gonna be like, what the heck are you talking about? Paying the tax. I'm just gonna pick a big game that happened. RSL versus Portland?
No. It's NYCFC versus Miami. It's the Yankee Stadium tax. Come on.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay.
Which we've talked about it a little bit.
Many
we're gonna
times.
talk. Yeah, we're gonna talk about it more.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah, it's such an intriguing game.
I should have got that one, man. Okay, you're right.
I told you.
You're right.
You didn't believe me.
Paying the tax. Okay, what's the last one?
Unbelievable. The last one. Give me liberty or give me ...
Philadelphia Union.
There you go, Philadelphia Union.
Wait, we already talked about the NYCFC game.
Yeah, I know. It was a featured game. I picked these before the start of the podcast. I can't control if you go way too deep, because NYCFC Miami was just like, it was not on my bingo card. It was just going to be hey, we'll talk about this more later, and then we were going to talk about it in the featured game headlines.
You can't start listing out games and expect me to not go in depth on each and every one.
That's what I'm expecting you to do. Anyways, so we're going to start with the Fearsome Foursome, though, in this, because I think it's a really, really fun match. And I'm going to take this and start it in a completely different direction. Let's talk about Vancouver for a second. Okay, come here. Let's sit around the fireside chat here. I posed this question in the group chat, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. Is Takaoka for Vancouver an average goalkeeper that is being put into poor positions by the defense in front of him that leads to players getting amazing opportunities to bury the ball into impossible to reach places? Or is Takaoka just a below average or maybe mid goalkeeper, and someone with better positioning and goalkeeping tendencies would position themselves in a way that they could then save those shots? And I don't know which one it is. Like, I firmly want to believe that Takaoka is a very like standard MLS caliber keeper and that the problem is in front of him, but I don't know. Like I really can't tell because like it seems like so many goals against Takaoka. You can like hear the commentators being like, "Wow, that's a great ball, top bin right in the corner. Nothing, Takaoka could do about that." And I'm just like, "But that could go either way." Like
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like why are there so many goals that Takaoka just can't do anything about?
Arsenal Seattle fan in the chat says either one. He switches. And honestly, like I I struggle to disagree with that because as you were talking, I was thinking he's an okay goalkeeper. I don't think he's like
Like
top
he
10. I
makes
don't think he's top 10 in the league.
definitely not top
He's a
10.
very mid goalkeeper. He's definitely not the worst in the league. He shouldn't be a backup. He should be a starter. But I do think Vancouver leave him open. Like defensively, Vancouver are not the most resolute defensive team. And so the chances that they give up due to their system are going to result in a little bit more space for players to take their shots, to get their headers off. And teams have clearly found weaknesses in Vancouver's defense, and they are taking full advantage. Not always the
Yeah, and
goalkeeper's fault, and he's not going to be able to do much about it.
yeah, I agree with you, right? And then I went down the rabbit hole, and it's like, okay, if you put like I don't know, like prime David De Gea in goal for Vancouver, does that significantly change their season?
He maybe saves like 3 or 4 extra goals. Like it's nothing crazy. I really I don't know.
But then it
Yeah.
then it sounds like what we're saying is that Takaoka is in fact an average keeper, and that it's the defense in front of him that's the issue.
Yeah, he's not a bad keeper in my opinion. I think he's just very meh. He can do better at times,
Hmm.
and at times the defense can do better.
Yeah,
I think it's a bit
which
of both, but I think they're if they really wanted to, they could upgrade on him.
they could, and but then it's like it's an unenviable position to be in because, to your point, if we talk about like, well, if you upgrade on Takaoka and your defense doesn't change, does it matter who you put in goal? But then like if your defense changes, well, you need to go invest in 2, 3 guys this offseason, like do a full overhaul. That's
Well,
a lot harder than changing goalkeeper.
they need to update their defense anyways, whether it's through system or it's through personnel. They need to update their
Yeah.
defense anyways. Um, and I don't think they need to get rid of Takaoka. I think they can stick with him. I think he's solid enough goalkeeper to where you focus elsewhere first, and then you go and take care of the goalkeeper upgrade.
Okay. I think I tend to agree with that position as well. I it's something I've been kind of struggling with because as you know, I watch a lot of Vancouver, and it's just like what what keeps going wrong for them? And that's where I think that's where it keeps going wrong for them. Case in point, they gave up 4 goals to LA Galaxy. I mean, the stat, right? So I think it's the first team ever
Yep.
to have at least 4 players in the double digits for goals scored. It's interesting because if you think about that, that seems like a great job from a coaching standpoint, right? Is if you have 4 guys on your team who are double digit scorers, you would probably look at the coach and say, hey, you did a great job getting all these guys into positions to succeed. And yet, how many people are going to Greg Vanney and saying, hey, you're doing a great job coaching LA Galaxy?
Well, I think he just got an extension. So
So
he got a 1 year
the only
extension.
person that matters might
Yeah,
believe that.
the one person that it matters to, his bosses, I guess, they are saying, "Hey, you're doing a good job." So yeah, they're fun to watch. Pooj, Peck, Paintsil, Joveljic, and now Marco Royce. I mean, it's really a fearsome fivesome if you think about it.
Fantastic fivesome.
Fantastic fivesome. Yeah, they're fun to watch. They're so good. That is an insane stat, and I'm glad that MLS posted about it and kind of hyped it up this week. It's a great storyline, great team, and I think we're gonna see them, deep into the playoffs this year. Yeah, it would be a surprise not to, right? They're first in the West, and I think with this result, this nearly locks them into first, right?
Yeah. If they're not fully locked in, they are not far from.
They have a 7-point gap to RSL and a 7-point gap to, or an 8-point gap to Colorado, a 9-point gap to LAFC. Now RSL and Colorado have a game in hand. LAFC have 2 games in hand, but still, I think Galaxy are going to finish the season top of the West.
And I would say that if they get like one more win, like 3 points, maybe even you say 4 points, I think 4 points secures it for them.
Yeah, I think so.
But look, what I want to ask you though, this is a very important question. We talked about Joveljic earlier this season, and we were like saying something to the effect of, and I can't, don't quote me on it, but we were saying something to the effect of, he's okay, but Galaxy need a better player in that position if they want to do well this season. And very obviously, from this statistic, it seems like he's done okay enough, and they're sitting first in the West. So I want to ask, do you want to reevaluate that position, or do you think that it still needs to be a priority for them to upgrade on Joveljic?
No, I think they've actually really struggled without him this season when he hasn't played. And when he has played, they've looked better as a whole unit in the offense. And I think just his spacing is really good. His runs are really good. His little touches in and around the top of the box have been phenomenal. In my opinion, they don't need to move on from Joveljic. And in fact, they need to keep him fit for the next few weeks as we head into the playoffs here coming up. Because he's going to be a big part of any playoff run they go on.
Very true.
Again, what do you think? Do you think they need a new striker?
I think it would be a bit of a champagne signing, so to speak, at this point.
Which it speaks. They had the money to pay for a Marco Royce salary, and they didn't go get a striker. They got someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, could they sign someone better than Joveljic? Yes. But does that raise the ceiling and does it raise the floor more than going and getting a different player on maybe a more obvious upgrade spot?
Wait, say that again?
Like, I guess, let's say you ditch Joveljic, right? Mm-hmm. And you say, we're going to go get a better striker than Joveljic. Does that raise the floor of Galaxy more than if they went to a different spot on the field? Like, let's say, I don't know, like left back, right back, center back, defensive mid, whatever, you name it. Does that raise the floor more than if they went and got a really good signing in one of those positions to upgrade? And I think the answer right now is no. I think signing in any of those other positions raises the floor more for your team than if you just replaced Jovic.
Yeah, from a floor perspective, I agree.
And presumably it would probably raise your ceiling as well. But again, I think the ceiling for LA Galaxy is already immensely high with the talent that they have on the roster already. Like, I don't the ceiling right for them. Like they're a team that could win the MLS Cup.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if your ceiling gets higher than that, than being a team that is in the conversation to win the league title.
Yeah, no. Other than like you're in the conversation to win CCC, but yeah. So, congrats to Galaxy. I think they have the West wrapped up. It would be a insane collapse to not finish first in the West this season.
Agree. The type of thing that we would talk about for years, decades even. So, I mean, either way, like we're either going to talk about LA Galaxy as having a great season and honestly a pretty big turnaround from last year, or we might talk about a huge collapse to not finish in first. So either way, like good storylines coming up no matter what, right?
Yep, keep your eye on the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm. Eyes to the stars, Gavin. Hey, next headline here. Headline's a generous term because when I picked this title, I had just one man in mind. Philadelphia 4, DC United 0. Can you guess the player that I want to wax lyrical about for this match?
For this match.
For this specific match, what player do I want to wax lyrical about?
Ty Baribo.
Ooh, close. I was going to say Sullivan.
Sullivan? Okay.
Quinn Sullivan, yep.
Quinn Sullivan. He's had a good season. I've liked his season. You know, he's been up and down, but when he's been up, he's been amazing for them.
Yeah, and he was very up in this match.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Baribo as well. I think it's a name that we're going to be saying frequently.
People don't realize what run he's on right now. I'll go find the numbers, but he is on a tear since coming in to Philadelphia.
I mean, it's a lot of... I don't think it's an overstatement to say a lot of this turnaround probably is in part due to Baribo.
Yep. Okay, so 9 goals, 2 assists in
For
16.
Baribo?
Yeah, in 16 games.
That is...
He
really
is
good.
heavily involved in the goal scoring of this team since joining. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's really good, especially, and we talk about the adjustment period to joining MLS. We talk about these, signings that come in outside of the off season. You need months to adjust to your team. We see it all the time. Here's a player who's come in and he's hit the ground running.
Yep. So props to him, but yeah, go ahead on Quinn Sullivan.
Oh, what a talent. Quinn Sullivan had a great game. I mean, and that's just like, I think here's maybe my note on this, right? Sullivan's not topping any of your team leader stats, right?
Right.
But, I mean, he is sitting on 10 assists for the Philadelphia Union, which is, I mean, that's solid. There's a pretty significant gap because it's like Kai Wagner, Quinn Sullivan are up there, and then you have like a gap of 4 or 5 assists to when you hit, I think, either Gazdag or Ure. One of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at Quinn Sullivan, and he doesn't have tons of goals, right? Like it's 3 goals, but that's not his game.
No, he is the quintessential Jim Curtin player. Works really hard, good in transition, and will just fight, not be dirty, but be, gritty, and stand up to the physical battle. He's got technique to back it up as well, and he's just someone who runs and runs and runs and just really supports the team in a supporting role. And those players are really, really important to winning trophies. We've seen it um, a lot in the midfield with Leon Flock, who's a very support role type player, and Bedoya as well. And I think Sullivan is just another one of those mold of support guys who it's like, okay, he's not going to bring the flashy skills and he's not going to, be McGlynn who can pass the ball wherever he wants to because he's just got a wand of a left foot. But Sullivan will work hard and get stuck in and do whatever it takes to win a game.
Yeah, and I'm checking the numbers here, but I think Quinn Sullivan, out of players who are like above, I don't know, say 1,000 minutes, I think Sullivan is their best assists per 90 player.
Really? That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he sits on 0.43 assists per 90, and he's played 2,100 minutes. Which, keep in mind, Kai Wagner has one assist more than him and has played 450 additional minutes.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
I mean, even look at I guess Gazdag is a poor example for this one because Gazdag isn't really your assist guy. He's more your goal scoring guy at this point. But yeah, I mean, I'm just like I'm looking through and I'm really certain like for players over 1,000 minutes, no one's doing better than Sullivan on assists per 90. So
nice.
And his name was frequently said in this game too.
Yes. Yes, it was.
So anyways, yeah, I wanted to wax lyrical about Quinn Sullivan. Like, give the guy his flowers. Really solid player. To your point, been a bit inconsistent, but for the type of game that he plays, for being that quote unquote quintessential Jim Curtin player, he's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe that should be my next question? Given their penchant for selling players, do you think Quinn Sullivan moves on from Philadelphia, and if so, where would you put his ceiling at as a next step?
That's a hard one. I don't see him starting for even like a Premier League level team.
Oh, definitely not.
No.
I could see maybe I could see a championship move.
Yep. I could see like a higher up in the Scottish league. Not Rangers or Celtic, but like a rung below them.
Maybe like a Dutch league move too.
Yeah, something like that. One of those second tier European leagues. I could see that.
Yeah.
I can't see Italy or Spain. Definitely not Spain.
Well,
no.
Yeah, not Spain. I could see Italy at like the middle of Syria, maybe like lower middle of Syria.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, look, because let's be realistic here, right? When you get to the big five leagues, barring probably the Premier League, the bottom 5 to 6 teams are not that great.
Yeah, they're not that great.
I mean, they're still really good, right? But there is a very, very clear gap.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think he suits what he suits the most is probably the English game and probably lower down the pyramid as his ceiling.
Yeah.
Low Premier League, like a backup player on a Premier League team, or a more important player for a championship level team.
Like a backup on Brentford or Fulham.
Something like that, yeah. Not even that high.
Well,
backup, backup on what are some of those lower down the table
Everton.
teams? Everton, yeah. I don't
I
know.
would.
Leicester.
I think at that point, okay. But here's the thing: Leicester just won in the championship, and they're just getting
That's true.
promoted. So
Okay,
I
fair
mean,
enough.
like if you're getting promoted, chances are they probably would have sold the players who were starters to bring in new players, or they would relegate those guys to the bench by like 2 or 3 positions to again bring in the Premier League caliber guys that they need to try and make some push to stay in the league. And it's already up. It's already uphill to stay
Okay.
in the Premier League when you first join.
Fair enough. Well, yeah. Probably enough talk on Quinn Sullivan, but he had a really good
No, some would
game
say not
yet again.
enough.
Not enough. And a good win for Philadelphia over DC United 4-0. Fantastic
Yeah.
four.
Question for you on the DC United side. So I think Christian Benteke still leads the Golden Boot race.
Yes, he does by 2 goals.
DC United not fully out of the race to make a playoff spot either. But like, where do they sit on your believability index?
Oof, DC.
Because I think I would put them above Nashville. I would put them above Atlanta.
I think didn't I have them top last week, or did I have Philadelphia top? I may
You
have
had
had
Philadelphia top. Yeah, I think you had Philadelphia, and then I think you had DC, and then you had Montreal.
I still think that they can squeeze in there. Out of the teams now, I think they would be top now that Philadelphia are in that 9th place spot.
I think there's a very real chance that Toronto might get squeezed out.
Possibly. They've just been so meh. So meh. I feel like they don't even deserve a playoff spot this season.
Well, when you have 9 teams from each conference making the playoffs, there's a lot of teams that might not deserve a playoff spot that are getting in.
That's fair. That's fair.
But to answer your question, that was unspoken. The Toronto schedule, as I'm pulling this up right now, they have 4 matches remaining. They've got Vancouver, Chicago, Red Bulls, Miami.
Not great.
Not
Not a great
great.
schedule.
They're Canadian, and they're away to Vancouver, mind you.
That's a
And
tough
they're away
schedule.
to Chicago.
Yeah. Now they'll probably, I don't know. I guess that match could go either way, but
Yeah, if they
Interesting.
so just to go back to it, right? They get 2 wins, that puts them on 42 points. That is in striking distance of multiple teams. If several teams below them get, say, 3 wins.
yeah. Now these bad teams have to go and get 3 wins, but
Well, yeah,
somebody
but I
might
mean,
do it.
yeah, somebody might do it. I don't know.
All right.
Anything can happen. Like the East is so unbelievably close this year.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. But yep, I think Philadelphia are rightly on top of our believability index, and now they are in
Yeah.
the playoff spots. So, which just as a side note, okay, I think DC can do 3 wins. I don't think they can do 4 because DC's next opponent is home against Columbus Crew.
They ain't beating Columbus.
No.
There's
So
no way.
I think DC needs to look to win all 3 of their October matches that are away to Nashville, away to New England, and then home against Charlotte. And that is a winnable 3 matches.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all. Now I'm good. I'm good on Philadelphia versus DC. So we've talked about it a lot. I'm bringing us back around. Okay, NYCFC versus Miami. I just want to have a discussion mainly centered on NYCFC here. Are NYCFC unlucky to not get 3 points from this? I recognize they scored in the very, very, very last minute, like last possible play of the game off of James
Mm-hmm.
Sands' goal.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell me if I'm crazy here. They were the better team than Miami for almost the entirety of the second half and stretches of the first.
Yeah, Miami did not look like the best team in MLS. They didn't even look like the best team on the field, and they had all their, just about all of their star players out there.
Yeah.
So, what does that tell us? I think where you were going with your titling of this match was that it's the Yankee Stadium tax.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it could just be the tax to a very long season.
Could be. But man, that ball just kept rolling out of bounds time after time after time. And it always happens, but it was definitely happening with this team quite a bit. This Miami team in this game. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to go down to the small pitch, unfortunately.
Potentially so. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, NYCFC are used to playing in this setup and they're generally kind of effective at doing it. So, I mean, it's working for them. I don't. You can correct me again if you think I'm wrong here, Gavin, but I don't think I am. I don't think the size of the field would have mattered the way that Miami played.
Um, I might disagree with you on that one. I feel like Miami, because when you make the field bigger, there's more space, there's more gaps, you can pass the ball around, you can be a little bit more tactical and going out wide, and they just didn't have that opportunity in this match. No one ever has that opportunity. NYCFC never has that opportunity. That's why they always play such a vertical style of play, because they have to. And this is why they always have such a strong home record every season. It's because teams are used to the wider pitches, and NYCFC practices and plays on those skinnier fields.
That might be true. I would say though the last like 30 minutes of this match, NYCFC played through the center pretty effectively though. They didn't have to go vertical.
Yeah, that's true. I
But
mean,
that's why I think you go a full 90 on a full size field. I think NYCFC wins this on a full size non-Yankee Stadium field.
maybe, maybe they played well. They played
They
well.
did.
They
It's insane. They deserved to win, but you have to put the ball in the back of the net, and they didn't. So
right, and that's what Miami has over every team in this league. They have those killers in attack, and Messi and Suarez, and they have the supporting cast in Campana and Taylor and Kramashi, and they just figure out a way to get the ball in the back of the net. It feels like, no matter
yeah,
what.
it's Miami are so clinical on the ball. It's insane to
It
me.
really is insane.
I mean, say what you will about it, right? Doesn't matter if they take 7 shots. Doesn't matter if they take 17 shots. They are finishing their chances.
It's real. It's a trademark of these really good teams in the league, and I feel like it's Galaxy, Miami, and Columbus. They're just so clinical. They get in front of net and they score. You give them any chance, and the ball's in your net. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, are you serious right now? So I think it's just a quality you have to have if you want to be successful in this league.
Yeah. Well, Gavin, that takes me to the end of our kind of headline title matches. So there's just a few other teams that we haven't talked much about. Obviously, Columbus, Orlando, we haven't touched on much. Charlotte, New England, we haven't touched on much. Montreal, Chicago, we haven't touched on. New York, Atlanta, we haven't touched on. I mean, we've just gone so in depth on like
I know.
half the teams here. So I mean, we'll just run through some of these other items that are on here. We'll you know say your piece if you've got something on it. Maybe we'll just start with Charlotte 4, New England 0. I think it's a regression to the mean personally for New England. They went on a nice little patch of good games, but this feels like the result that I would have expected out of them at most any other point of the year.
Yeah, we did we asked for correspondent corners, of course, and our New England Revolution correspondent just put a gif of a burning dumpster fire.
They're not wrong.
Yeah, they're not wrong. I mean, there were videos of fights going around, and it's just the downfall, as the kids say, needs to be studied. New England's downfall will be studied. To go from a team last season that still had Bruce Arena and was close to being in a home playoff position to
This.
one of the worst teams in the league, like, okay. Huge downfall. So they need a revamp, and they made Charlotte look good. And Charlotte are a pretty average team in this league. So that's how bad New England are.
Yeah, which you can say that Charlotte are an average team in this league, but where do Charlotte sit in the standings right now in the East?
Aren't they like 5th or 6th?
6th. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Very average.
I think it's above average by one place, one place above average.
Okay.
But it's above average.
Okay.
The very definition of it. Hey, Gavin, you recognize this one? Columbus 4, Orlando 3.
Yeah. Speaking
You
of
watched
clinical,
this.
yes, I did. Speaking of clinical, just every single time we gave Columbus an opportunity to score, they took it. Really, an opportunity in the attacking third. Columbus were ruthless, and that was really the story of the game. We were down 3-0, and then we battled back. We got a goal and then a penalty shortly thereafter. We get it to 3-2. We make another silly mistake in the midfield, 4-2, and it's like, are you serious right now? Then we get one back, 4-3. It was a fun game. Really good game. I mean, there were chances throughout the whole entire match. We hit the post in the first half. They hit the post in the first half. It really is a classic MLS game. Just disappointing that we couldn't even up the score to make it one of the best MLS games this season.
Man, 4-4 would have fit the title for this episode really well.
Yes, it would have. Yes, it would have. But props to Columbus. They are so good.
Wilfred Nancy was asked why Zawadzki wasn't in the lineup. I loved his response. He was like, "Oh, we didn't need more goalkeepers tonight."
Really? That's awesome.
Loved it. It was later clarified as just saying it was planned arrest for him, but the off the cuff nature of it, phenomenal response.
Yeah, it's a great response.
All timer right there. Moving us on, Montreal 2, Chicago 0. What to say about Chicago? Maybe less is more in this case, so we won't say anything more about Chicago. Montreal, I mean, they're fine. Like, I don't think they're gonna do much. They sit in 10th. They don't even top the believability index. They're below the believability index behind DC United, and DC United sits in 13th and Montreal's in 10th. I don't know how much I trust Montreal to step up when it matters, is just my big takeaway here. Chicago, a win against them is important. It matters. We're going to get to the end of the season, though, and it would be so on brand for Montreal to get to the end of the season and be like, we could make the playoffs if we win, just like last year, and then not win and be like, well, we had a chance and we blew it.
That's a very Montreal thing to do. Look, at the end of the day, these are two teams that are really just playing out the season. They're not going to make the playoffs. I don't believe in either of them. And that's that on that. Sorry, Tim. Tim, from a correspondent corner perspective, says Fire played 3 games in the space of 8 days, got 1 win, 2 losses, so 3 points. Somehow, despite having just 1 win since Leagues Cup and being one of just 3 teams that can win the Supporters' Shield, The Fire or the Spoon. The Fire aren't technically eliminated from the postseason. Wait, what?
Yeah, they're
Somehow
not
just
eliminated from the postseason. That's true.
one of just 3 teams, Revs and Quakes, that can win the Supporters Shield. They cannot win the Supporters Shield. I'm confused with that.
I think it means wooden spoon.
But they can't win it. San Jose has that locked up.
Well, but I think mathematically.
Okay, he must have meant the Spoon. With Frank Klopas already quietly talking about the upcoming offseason being the biggest in team history, though, the cat is increasingly peeking out of the bag. Yes.
Ooh, that's right. I've frequently loved to spell Chicago, and when I spell Chicago, I usually spell it CHICAGGGO.
Chicago?
We're talking about Craig Berhalter, rumored to be going to Chicago.
Oh, that's right. GGG. I forgot about that. Not bad.
Well, we'll see.
I think it'd be a good hire, personally.
Anything is up from where they are right now.
Yes.
And I do mean that. Anything is up from where they are right now.
Yeah. All right, that's probably enough said on that game.
It's way too much said on that game, but here we are. New York 2, Atlanta 2. Like
2 really late goals, so there was some drama.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
Another draw for the draw masters.
Yeah, like hear me out on this, okay? New York Red Bulls sit on 14 draws, which surely has to be close to a record for MLS at this point.
I'll start looking, because every time you say something like that, it makes me curious. But it's insane.
It's just like they got off to a really hot start. Great, wonderful. Everyone's like, Red Bulls finally doing it right. They're going to win something this year. They're contenders. And they're in 4th by a very considerable margin. May not even get a home playoff spot because they're in the mess right now.
16 draws for Columbus in 2022.
So you're telling me there's a chance. They've got 4 matches left to play.
There is a chance. And at the clip they're going,
there's a pretty good chance.
Yeah.
Like, here's the insane thing, right? They have fewer losses than Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah, they don't lose.
Yeah, and yet they sit 12 points behind Cincinnati.
I wonder if that's a good indicator of how teams do in the postseason. Like, since they just refuse to lose, like, do they go far in the postseason? Columbus didn't make the postseason. That's the season that they had 16 draws. Galaxy in 2016 had 16 draws. Who won MLS Cup in 2016? It was the year before Toronto. Seattle?
Probably.
I think it went Seattle, Toronto, Seattle, right? So that might have been Seattle's year. Either that or Portland. Or were they 2015? I don't know.
You'll fact check us on that when you post your backlog to Twitter.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I agree with you
about Gavin not posting things.
Yes, that's true. New York Red Bulls, they're the team that draws this season.
Yeah, they're
yeah.
I mean, like, a draw doesn't help Atlanta. I didn't expect an Atlanta win, so I don't know. I don't have much else to say about this match, so I'm just gonna instead talk about Kansas City 0, Minnesota 2.
Kansas City 0. Okay.
Yeah, Kansas
we
City's
have
eliminated.
Correspondent corner here.
Oh, well, hit me with the correspondent corner.
Yeah.
I bet it's from probably from Travis, right?
Yep. Travis Kelce. For being put out of our misery by being eliminated from the playoffs, this still feels a lot like misery somehow. Pulido or Russell should have taken the penalty. Agata continues to prove that athleticism and positioning aren't enough to win games without basic coordination. Damn. The 2 things that fans are still cheering for are to win the Open Cup and knock St. Louis out of playoff contention.
Yeah. St. Louis, Kansas City's coming up. I think that's
Yep.
this weekend.
I think you're right.
Will be must-watch TV. It's always a really good rivalry match. And let's be honest, people love being the team to knock someone else out of playoff contention.
Especially their rivals, yeah.
Yeah, I would be celebrating that for like a week straight. if
Nothing
that
else
was
to
us.
celebrate for them. Other than the Open Cup
Yeah.
final, but
Right.
they got to win it first.
Which, yeah, so Saturday may have even more importance. If they win the Open Cup, maybe the importance of Saturday goes down because they're like, well, we've got a trophy. If they lose it, becomes their Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta win it then.
Yep.
Anyways, Minnesota, I mean, I don't have tons to say about Minnesota. Another win, and I think they're probably into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So beating Kansas City, honestly, about what you would expect of them. So we'll see in their next match. They're getting very close. They're on playoff clinch watch, I would say. Not warning, but definitely on watch.
Just watch for now.
Yeah, we might upgrade that.
I don't have much to add there.
Yeah. Colorado, Toronto, Colorado, good win. 2-0. Toronto, I mean, continuing to flounder. That's maybe the word I'm going to use there.
Yeah.
They've
Flounder.
been not good as of late. Colorado continuing to be good, honestly. I mean, they now sit in third place. They're above LAFC. Put that in your mind. LAFC, go to the end of last season, and I'm going to tell you that Colorado sit above LAFC in the West towards the end of the regular season this year. Are you calling me high, insane, crazy? Like, what insult are you slinging at my face if I did that to you last year?
Well, let's see if that's how the season finishes. But I'd be calling you some funny names, that's for sure. Because I never would have predicted that come the end of the season.
Absolutely not. I mean, he's not going to win Coach of the Year, Chris Armas, but I think his name should at least get some honorable mention.
Yes. Yep. He's done a great job.
Huge turnaround.
Nick for Colorado Rapids says a big W against Toronto means Colorado has clinched a playoff spot in mid-September, now sitting third in the West and just 1 point behind RSL. Not bad considering what happened last season. Reggie Cannon is off and running now after scoring a goal in his home debut. Georgie is in the engine room once again with a goal and assist over the weekend. Both Americans made team of the match day along with head coach Chris Armas. Consistent performances, especially defensively, will be key as we approach the final legs of the season.
We'll see.
We shall see.
Do you remember when we weren't sold on Zach Steffen, and Zach Steffen has been like really good for them?
I do recall that being the case. I do.
Man, we should just do an episode where we're just owning up to all the things we got wrong at the start of the season.
We're wrong about this.
Yeah,
We're
wrong about this.
Yep.
Wrong about this.
Yep.
Hey, Salt Lake City 3, Portland 3. We didn't talk at all about this one, and I think we'll have one more match to talk about after it.
This was a fun one.
This was a fun one. It's an interesting one because Portland can't defend to save their lives, and that's been consistent all year.
Yep.
Yeah. And it shows, if you look at their goal differential, that they also score like crazy because they've conceded 53 goals. It's the fourth most in the West. They've also scored 63 goals, which is as many goals as LA Galaxy has scored, and LA Galaxy sit at the top of the conference.
They are sacrificing defense for offense. That is a clear game plan from Neville. Clear as day.
But I mean, it's working. They're sitting in a playoff spot. Barely. I mean, they're sitting in 8th. It's a play-in spot, but technically it's a playoff spot.
Okay, we don't have to spend too much time on this, but should we classify finishing 8th or 9th as making the playoffs?
Yes.
Or should we only since it's called the play-in spot, should we only say, let's say it's Portland versus Minnesota, because those are the two teams right now, and let's say Portland win. We say Portland made the playoffs in 2024. Minnesota did not. They lost the play-in game.
No. Both teams made the playoffs.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Because here's
no.
here's the thing, Gavin. When you talk about the playoffs, and we're gonna look at this from an American sports mindset. When you talk about the playoffs, people think about postseason.
Fine.
These are matches that occur after the season.
Postseason.
It's the playoffs. Yep.
Whatever. I hate it.
No one says like one-off wild card matches to determine who plays a top seed don't count in other sports around the U.S.
I hate when you make good points.
I'm sorry. I hate being the one to make good points and tear you down, but you needed to be fact-checked.
Opinion checked. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a fact. They made the playoffs.
Whatever. All right, I'm going to correspondent corner us on the RSL side of the ball.
Yeah, that's with it.
In the first 20 games of the season, RSL gave up 1.15 goals per game. In the last 10, they have given up 2.2. There have been no major changes in defensive personnel, and yet the club has started bleeding goals in a massive way. The problem is consistent, regardless of the opponent's quality. Head coach Pablo Mastroeni needs to figure out something fast if this team is to make a deep playoff run. It sure doesn't feel like we're the second best team in the West. Good stuff, Mike. Hey, we've also got a correspondent corner here from... we didn't really talk about St. Louis, San Jose, did we?
We haven't talked about it yet. It's coming up.
We'll move over to St. Louis. Well, I thought you said we were wrapping up, so
I said, and then we're gonna wrap up, and we're wrapping up with San Jose 1, St. Louis 2.
Okay. From Tyler for St. Louis, he says, nice to officially step out of the wooden spoon race this weekend. At this point, all the team has left to play for is pride, and it appears the summer arrivals especially are taking advantage. 2-1 over San Jose was nervier than I would have hoped, but what else can you expect from a team who didn't get their first road win in mid-September? I'm still not sold on this defense. It still looks porous, and some really basic mistakes are consistently made. Here's hoping the offseason allows for a tactical refresh and some talent infusion similar to what the midfield and attack experienced this summer.
All very fair and valid points.
Yep.
To be honest.
Yep.
I mean, we said it, they're not mathematically eliminated from playoffs, but
they're not making them.
They're not making them.
They missed their chance. Sorry.
Yeah, I would say St. Louis is officially on elimination warning, and they could probably even win at the weekend and still be eliminated.
Yeah.
Just based on how other results fall.
Hey,
like Minnesota gets a win and Portland gets a win. I think St. Louis are out.
Yes. Yep. Last thing. In the chat a while ago, Arsenal Seattle fan. I think we've talked about this before because Seattle haven't played this weekend, so we didn't talk about them. But they said Sounders have arguably the best youth system in MLS. They develop players like Paul Rothrock, Reed Baker Whiting, Cody Baker, Manungo, Alex and Christian Roldan, and Jordan Morris.
Okay. Is that a statement or is that a question? That's
a statement. I think it's a statement that we have to agree or disagree with.
I would be hard pressed to disagree with it, and I think there's probably even more names. Like, wasn't Obed Vargas a homegrown for them? Didn't he like help them win the CONCACAF Champions League?
Yes, Obed Vargas came through, 16 years old. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't list him there.
Well, I mean, they have a lot of good players that they've brought through. Rothrock is a great one right now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a name that
their academy didn't get Stephen Fry, but didn't they draft him?
Maybe.
Wasn't Stephen Fry a draft pick? I'll look that one up real quick.
I mean, if they're hitting on draft picks and academy, great for them. I think maybe the only reason why we don't consider Seattle to be a
he
quote
played for
unquote
Toronto. That's right. Sorry.
okay. Maybe the only reason we don't consider Seattle to be a quote unquote better academy or quote unquote top academy is just because they tend to hold on to their players. Like, not to say there's anything wrong with that, but I guess when you look at those top academies, people are always going to be like, "Oh, look at Dallas, they sent Pepe to Europe," or "Oh, look at Orlando, they sent Daryl Dike to Europe," or
Mm-hmm.
which Daryl Dike was a college draft, so take from that what you will. Or look at Philadelphia, they sent all these players over to Europe after helping them develop. Look at what's their faces. Look at Colorado, they keep sending defenders over to Europe.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
I think that's
I
right.
think,
I think that's what we said before.
yeah, and I think whether or not the quantity of players that you're developing is greater, ultimately it's the headlines of the sales and the big money attached to them. It's probably what influences people's opinion.
Probably, yep. Okay, sorry for taking us down that rabbit hole, but wanted to
It's all
respond
good.
to that.
I want to talk about Cincinnati's academy too at some point, because I've been seeing a lot of news. Like, Cincinnati keeps getting a bunch of really promising prospects to commit to their academy. So in like 2 or
Nice.
3 years, we might talk about a Cincinnati academy being really good. I think Cincinnati also is like number 1 in MLS Next right now, which is insane.
Oh wow, I
Pointing
didn't know that.
like, I just want to point that out because I think they were last in MLS Next Pro last year, and now this year they're the top. Oh my gosh, there's live MLS Next Pro right now. LAFC versus Salt Lake City. The real sickos will turn that on.
I was watching Orlando City B earlier today. I won't lie.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Playing out against Chicago 2 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, look, point being, the academies are doing some really cool stuff. We should do more academy content. We really should.
Probably should.
Oh. Anyways. All right. Well, Gavin, that's it for me.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm putting a pin in it. I am, pressing the button to make music go in the background, because I'm gonna just put myself on the timer, because now that it's running, I can't stop. I've got to monologue and segue us out like any good podcast host does. So, like any good podcast host, I'll just remind all the listeners that you can find Gavin on social media at LionsBlog1. You can find me on social media at Mr. Dangerous. But most importantly, if you're only going to pick and choose one account to follow, the MLS Now podcast on social media at MLS Now podcast. So thank you very much to everyone who has stuck with us through all the episodes. It was a longer one than usual. We got off topic. We went rambling a little bit. We hope you stuck with us. If you liked it, let us know on social media. If you hated it, let us know on social media, or you can click the link in the episode description. It'll send a message right to us. We love getting them. We still get some occasionally, so keep the feedback coming. We like to keep an eye on it. We like to keep our ears to the ground. Thank you very much, as always, to the listeners. Thank you very much, as always, importantly, to Gavin for being on the episode. Thank you, Gavin.
Of course. Hey, you have 2 seconds. Who's winning on Wednesday? LAFC or SKC?
LAFC.
Okay, I'm going SKC.
All right, deal. Loser buys the other person a bottle of tequila.
Okay, deal.
It's a bet.
I think I owe you one from sometime. I don't know.
That sounds about right. Anyways, hey, thank you very much, listeners. Thank you very much, Gavin. Folks, till next time.
Till next time.